Okay, we are live. Good evening, everybody.
So,
Uh, Today is April 1st. We are here to discuss Jeremiah's case. Jeremiah, if you don't mind, could you take a moment to talk to us and just give us a little insight about the email you sent us about your client?
yeah, so this case focuses on a single client that I work with. So I provide, for this client, I provide one-on-one counseling um, in a, like, he's, he won't have to register as a sex offender, but if he completes all this counseling. But he really struggles with like attention, and he really struggles with comprehension. Just trying to get him to pay attention and discuss what we're trying to talk about is really a struggle. He gets distracted very easily, and so like I'm having trouble keeping him focused because it's really the program is really designed for like adult minds, and he acts very much like an adolescent. But he is only 21, I think.
Mhm.
And he actually receives services through the ARC as well, which I just found out not too long ago.
Could you do
Um,
me a favor and clarify the ARC, please?
ARC is um, no, I don't know what it really stands for, but
Mhm.
it works with people with developmental disabilities.
Okay.
It provides them community services. So in some sense, like it helps people, especially adults who receive services through the ARC, like find housing or find jobs or um, get in touch with other community services for developmental disabilities. It can also provide, one-on-one work. Um,
Okay.
yeah. So, but the biggest struggle that I'm having is just getting him to stay focused and really comprehend what we're talking about. And right now we're concentrating on pornography use. So he has an issue with excessive pornography use.
So, does everybody see which questions you will be asking Jeremiah? It's in the chat box if you can't see it.
I don't see it. Can you put it in again?
Yes.
It might be helpful to also add a little bit of a trigger warning. So, I mean,
Okay.
he is a sex offender. So some of the topics, if I describe something, he did commit a sex offense. So, um, if anybody, just so you guys are aware.
Thank you for that, Jeremiah.
Sarah, I'm still not seeing the questions, like the numbers.
Okay. I could just say it. Would you prefer that?
Probably
Yeah.
because I don't know what's going on.
Rebecca,
Okay.
on the left-hand side of your screen, there should be like little boxes. The blue chat box, if you click on it, they should show up.
But I'm comfortable just telling everybody.
Yeah, I went to the chat. I'm on an iPad, so I don't
So
know.
I'm going to do the first question. And then Rebecca, you're going to have question number 2 as well as question number 6.
Okay.
Jessica, you'll have questions 3 and 7. Aubrey, you only have question 4. It's a lot of questions in that question.
Okay.
And Rachel, you have 5 and 8.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to start the first, the solution-focused question space. So let's hold on to our hats. Jeremiah.
Yep.
So what are your best hopes for today's consultation?
Well, today I'd really like to see if I could get some feedback on how to hold the attention and focus of the client during an individual session.
Okay. And what are your best hopes for this client?
So my best hopes are that he will successfully complete the program, which he only has like maybe another 2 months left, and he does weekly sessions. So my best hope is that he can complete it and actually get something from it, and not just get like the I completed the program and I served my time kind of thing. But I actually take something away from what I'm trying to teach him.
I'm just going to interject for a moment.
Mhm.
Do you have some specific skills you'd like them to take from your sessions with him, like any specific takeaways?
Well, the specific takeaway would to be him ceasing his pornography. Like the ultimate goal for this particular session is that he won't use pornography anymore.
Okay, thank you. All right, we can go on to the next question.
So, okay, so suppose that your best hopes are realized. This is a question that honestly I feel like has tripped us up a little bit.
Mhm.
But so if your best hopes are realized, then what is going to be different? I think there are two ways to answer this. Go ahead and
Right.
answer it, and then we'll talk more about that.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with it, Jessica. So in one sense, during the session, I be able to stay focused and be able to give me good feedback without all of a sudden commenting on something he sees out the window, which he does very often throughout the session.
Right. So he'll be focused through the sessions. That's
Right.
what your goal. Right.
And that's what I really want.
Yeah.
In the long term, in the more long term, I really want him just to complete the whole program. He doesn't have to register as a sex offender, and he doesn't have to go through that process, because it can be like, in his actual offense, like he was drunk at a party and he was 19 and the girl was 15. Like, it happens, and then he has to go through this process. So I don't think necessarily people like that or kids like that should end up being on the registry for the next 30 years.
So then if he's able to focus through an entire session, what will he notice?
So if he's able to focus through this entire session, that he would probably notice maybe a little bit more of the actual information. So maybe he would be able to comment more on the information, and I wouldn't have to repeat myself nearly as often, and we would actually get through the information in a more timely manner, because it slows us down quite a bit. My goal is for him to be done in the next 2 months, and the more he gets distracted, the further that lengthens.
So it lengthens the time over the number of sessions. Does it also affect the length of time within a single session?
No, because all the sessions are only 45 minutes. So
Okay.
it won't affect that, but it will affect how long he has to be in the program. And being in the program comes with a bunch of different restrictions. I mean, the sooner he can get done with this, the less restrictions he's going to have.
Right. What will other people notice if he's able to focus through sessions?
I think other people would notice him being able to actually make turns during session. So his parole officer, who he has to work with, would notice that he's able to talk about stuff he's learning specifically. His parents, who he currently lives with, would notice that he is less focused on objectifying women and more focused on maybe things that he needs to accomplish or work or his family life. And I think that they might also notice that he just tends to be more focused overall, able to complete and stay on task instead of getting so distracted.
Okay, so you think that if he's being more focused in your sessions, they'll notice that he's more focused other places too?
I mean, I guess that would be like on a scale of 1 to 10, my 11, kind of thing. Maybe just at least a little bit more focused on what we're talking about. Like if his parents
So like he's going to watch less porn? Is that what you mean?
So watch porn. So he is like completely restricted. If he watches pornography, he's kicked out of the program and has to go back to jail. So he can't watch pornography, but maybe the cravings would be less. He wouldn't be so focused on, you know, looking at women and objectifying them in a sexual manner, because he does that. You know, he'll point out women in public and talk to his dad about that kind of stuff, and you know, it's inappropriate. So maybe they would notice a reduction in that.
Because if he's more focused on sessions, he's going to be understanding the material and applying it in his life.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. Gotcha. Thanks.
All right, Jeremiah, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 10 stands for your client completing the program successfully and hopefully taking a lot from the session with him, and 1 stands for that not happening, where are you now?
I think we're actually at a solid 5. Things have gotten better, I think, since I wrote the case presentation actually like weeks ago. So things have gotten a little bit better.
What tells you you're at a 5 now?
So one thing that I started doing that was really effective was I gave him a stress ball during sessions. So he's been able to fiddle with that, which has kept him more focused. So that I'm at a 5 because we've made progress in that realm.
Jeremiah, can you elaborate a bit more on that? So does he use the stress balls during the sessions you have with him instead of wandering around the room, or can you elaborate? Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So prior to using the stress ball, he would do exactly that. He'd get up, walk around the room, comment on different knickknacks that were on the shelves, comment on something that he saw outside the window. But now that he has the stress ball, he can use that in his hands, and he tends to stay a little bit more focused, but he still gets distracted on stuff that's going outside.
Thank you.
Okay, and so how do you know you're not at a 4?
So I think that I know I'm not at a 4. Is definitely not walking around as much as he used to. So he doesn't get up in the middle of the session and just start walking around the room commenting on knickknacks anymore. So that tells me I'm not at a 4.
Okay, and where do you want to be?
My goal would be maybe, like, if I'm at a 5, maybe like a 7. I would really like to see him at a 7 before I leave, because I only have a month left of this, and someone else is going to have to finish the program with him.
Right. And what will be different when you're at a 6?
So I think when I'm at a 6, maybe just that is like him not commenting on stuff that's going outside outside the window from or during our session. That he would actually, just stop commenting on that kind of stuff. I guess and being able to give me some feedback about what we're talking about.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Jeremiah. So what are you already doing that is on track with moving towards a 7?
So I think, like I said, the stress ball has definitely played a big role. I think something else that I'm doing on track is I also make sure I have all the materials out before he even gets there, so we're not fiddling with that. So everything's all laid out and we can get right to work instead of having to prep too much. And I think that helps keep them focused. And I try to schedule, 5 to 10 minutes maybe of just kind of small talk conversation in the beginning to hopefully get most of that out of the way, so he doesn't end up bringing something up during work. We've covered work already. How is that going? We've done that.
Okay. And how are you being trauma informed?
That's a hard question. I think one of the things that I'm doing, being trauma informed, is being transparent with him. So I'm upfront in the fact that okay, we're getting distracted. We need to refocus. One of the problems that we're really having that's stalling you is that we're getting too distracted on things. I'm upfront with him about that. I'm not trying to do this behind his back and trying to manipulate him into paying more attention. I'm we're not paying attention. We need to refocus. I'm very upfront and clear about that.
Really quick. So are the obstacles you have with your client like just mainly his distraction?
Yes.
Or
that is.
so and you mentioned before that he's come a long way since a few weeks ago, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So it's
Still
just
room.
most. Oh, oops, what's that? Okay, I was just gonna say, so it's just mainly obstacles with contributed by the ADHD primarily.
Yes. Yep. That's really what it seems to be. And then, you know, a little bit of cognitive. Sometimes I have to explain myself with things I take for granted as being rather simple. Um, but he doesn't know what that really means. So I just have to make sure I explain myself very clearly when using maybe a slightly challenging terminology or word or concept.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Any other ways that you're being trauma informed and working with him?
I think one of the things that I've really tried to build is this air of trust between us, you know. So I've really wanted to make sure that I follow through. Like he'll ask me questions about, um, you know, different aspects of treatment or different aspects of the program, and I want to make sure that I follow through with those questions if I don't answer. So I make sure I write those down and I make sure I come back to them if he's asking questions to really build this sense of like you can rely on me, you can count on me to make sure I get the information.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I really try to focus on building trust with him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So is there anything else that you're doing that is on track to getting to that number 7 where you would like to be at before the end of his time with you?
I think I do a good job at holding him accountable when he does get a little bit distracted.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like to see is I don't have to do it as frequently. It just seems like, you know, every 5 minutes I have to get him to refocus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And what's the client doing that's on track?
So he, which is good, I think, is recognizing that he is getting distracted. So he will catch himself and sometimes apologize for getting distracted, or he will find his own way back. So he'll get distracted for a little bit, and then he'll come back to where we were. So I think he's recognizing it. The more we're pointed out, more I hold him accountable. He's starting to recognize it more. So I think that's good. And he's holding himself accountable.
Is he open to the things that you've tried? Like you mentioned the stress ball. Is he open to like behavioral modification?
Yes, I think he is. When I implemented the stress ball, I didn't like specifically give it to him that time and say, this is for when you get distracted. I actually just left it out with all the material that I got prepped. I just put the stress ball there just to see kind of what would happen. And he started utilizing it right away.
Okay. What else is he doing that's on track?
He's like I mentioned earlier, he's definitely getting up less. So, and he recognizes that he's getting up less. But when he does get up, he also tells me, you know, I just need to move. I can't sit still right now. I'm like, okay, as long as we can keep talking, you can move around the room. You know, so, and he's able to tell me that instead of just getting up and doing whatever.
Okay.
What's the next small step?
I think the next small step is getting him to just to be more engaged and give me more feedback. I feel like I end up doing a lot of the talking, and he gives me very short answers. You know, I've tried different forms of questions, and I just don't seem to be engaging him as much as I'd like. And that's where I think I need to go. Maybe is questioning him in a way that engages him more, so he stays more focused.
Is there anything else that you want to add or share about your client or the next steps or anything like that?
I mean, he's been doing a lot better. We've definitely improved in our trust. There was an issue with he told one therapist one thing and told me something else, and I had to have the other therapist come in and we kind of talked about it. And since then, we've built better trust. Now that we understand each other a little bit better and what this is supposed to be doing, what's supposed to be happening, and so I think that's really good. But just getting him to engage and stay focused.
Okay, great. So everybody, now we will move into the second phase, the wonderment phase. Jeremiah, I'm going to ask that you turn off your mic and your camera,
Okay.
but stay on the chat. Good. Okay, everybody. So we're going to go around and, like we do every week, discuss what we wonder about Jeremiah's case. I'll start, and then we can go in that same order. The order. Okay, how about this? So first is me, next is Rebecca, next is Jessica, next is Aubrey, and last is Rachel. You clear?
Yep.
Okay. So I wonder if the client is responding well in other aspects of his life in a more improved manner. As Jeremiah said, the client is doing better in sessions, but I wonder if that's translating into other parts of his life. I also wonder if Jeremiah has looked at websites that help with ADHD as a resource for treating this client. Websites such as the National Institute of Mental Health or National Resource on ADHD as a way to help in working with this particular client.
I have two. The first one, I have to wonder how appropriate this intervention is for the client, given his cognitive delays and his challenges. And I also wonder, it sounds like the client's been formally diagnosed with ADHD. I'm wondering if he's taking medication, and if he's not taking medication, if that's been discussed at all, like if he's been given a referral, or if he's been in, if he's in the process of seeing a neuropsychiatrist to receive medication.
Along the same lines, I wonder for this client about his willingness to participate. I mean, this is obviously not voluntary, and it also doesn't sound like it's culturally appropriate for this guy. I mean, as much as I very much want Jeremiah to succeed and make sure that there is not additional, young girls being whatever happened. At the same time, if he's actually working in a location and has a family and a culture that treats women this way, gosh, what an uphill battle.
I echo that. I also wonder if this is going to be something that will stick with him. And I wonder if it would be possible for Jeremiah to maybe come up with a really basic agenda. I know for me, crossing things off of a list makes me feel like I'm actually accomplishing something, and maybe the client would respond to something like that.
I wondered something similar to Rebecca, and that is there an alternate or more appropriate intervention considering his ADHD? And I also wondered if there would be any way for Jeremiah to access ARC, who this client has already worked with for as some sort of a resource without breaking confidentiality.
I also wonder, excuse me, my voice. I also wonder if, I know Jeremiah said he's going to be leaving his internship soon and someone else is going to be coming in. I know that Jeremiah said he's gained the client's trust And I wonder if the next person who is working with this client will gain that same amount of trust or anything close, and what effect that might have on the client's treatment. So we're going to have Jeremiah come back. Is that okay, everybody?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, Jeremiah, come on back. Good. Okay, so now is the third phase. We're going to go through the compliment phase. I'm going to go last instead. So if we keep the same order, Rebecca, Jessica, Aubrey, Rachel, and then me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, whenever you're ready, Rebecca.
Oh, wait, you're not starting, Claire?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to go last.
Oh, okay, sorry. You cut out for a second, so I missed I think it's great that Jeremiah, that you're using, like that you're exhausting all of your resources for dealing with, or working with rather, a client with ADHD. I like how you talked about having everything set out for you. I work with a lot of kids with ADHD. That's something that I hadn't thought about. And I made a note of it to try it next week after spring break with my kids. And the other thing, I'm also impressed by how non-judgmental you are working with essentially a sex offender or potential sex offender. I have to wonder how other clinicians might be with him, if they would be biased, if they would approach the intervention or the work with the client differently given the situation. But it seems like you're very non-judgmental and willing to give him another shot. That's great.
Yeah, I think it's awesome that you are remaining committed to this client who is telling you in all different kinds of ways he doesn't want to be there, maybe even telling you he doesn't believe what you're saying, but you're sticking with him, and that is awesome because it's really going to, many folks who I've worked with would say he doesn't want to do it, tell probation he's not doing it, whatever, and then just write him off and move on to the next client. So you're really giving him the maximum chance to reclaim his life here, and I think that's admirable.
I agree with that, and I applaud you for your perseverance because I think a lot of people would get frustrated, especially when it's a client that you know doesn't really want to be there and they may not really believe in what you're trying to teach them. So I applaud you for your perseverance and not giving up and trying different methods to try to get him to engage and focus. So good job.
So I actually asked that, are you doing anything else that's trauma informed to you a second time? Because when you were talking, you kept saying, we're getting distracted. It wasn't, you weren't pointing out at him. It was clear that the two of you have collaboration and a strong alliance. Like, you're with him, you're in this with him. And I just think that that's really awesome. And it speaks to how successful you want him to be. And so that's awesome.
Yeah. I'm so sorry. I think what everyone said was amazing, and I agree. Jeremiah, you've done a lot with this client, clearly that he's come such a long way, and I think it's great that he trusts you. That's, sometimes clients may not feel that for the person they're working with, but that's a big thing, and I compliment you for that. I also want to compliment you for being able to leave any personal opinions about what this client did. You leave it at the door, and you treat this client in what I believe to be a trauma-informed manner, and you do your best with him. And we're all proud of you. So I think we lost somebody. Rebecca just left. Well, we're going to be going right now into the fourth phase. Hopefully she can come back. But we're going to go now to the compliment phase. I'm sorry. We're going now to the debriefing phase. So, Jeremiah, how was this for you?
I definitely found some of the wonderments helpful. So I typed them all up as you guys were talking. So hopefully I'll be able to research some of the things that you guys mentioned. But I also found the compliment phase awkward. I don't know how it was for the rest of you guys, but it's like sitting there and having a group of people compliment you is a little weird for me.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry, guys. I have to break for a minute. Does anybody know about? Okay, Rebecca said she got kicked off of the chat. Does anyone know about that?
I mean, she should be able to just click back on the link.
Okay, I'm gonna tell her that. I'm sorry. Yeah, she just messaged me. I click on. Okay. Okay. We'll just have to go on and so and group members. So, what worked for you all today within today's group session? Oh, Jazz, I can't hear you. Your mic.
My kids walked back. They were out on a walk and they just walked back in, so I turned my mic off. Claire, you were organized. I jumped on right exactly at 8 o'clock and I knew what was going on. I regretted that you all were chatting and I wish I knew what you were talking about, but it was nice to be able to just like get the process started, and very well organized. Good work.
Thank you so much. I tried.
I agree, Clara. I think you did a great job. I know you were nervous when you had to be on the other side of things, but I think you did a really good job.
Thank you.
Ditto. Great job, Clara.
Thank you very much. I tried. So we don't see Rebecca. I'm curious. What do we do?
I think you can just wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna give it 5 minutes, but it's already 8:33.
Yeah, she texted back and said that she can't get back into her mail either. It keeps telling her she's offline. So I think you can just keep going.
So, unfortunately, she wasn't able to give her opinion of how this session went and for the debriefing process, but it's what it is. I hope she can find us. Really quick, I just wanted to summarize what happened today. So Jeremiah had his problem, and we took the time to address it. And although we were asking the guided questions, we also did have the wonderment phase, and we were able to kind of think about what he's going through and what the client is going through. And we got to acknowledge what he's done good and what he's done right with his client. So, and now this leads us to now, and thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you, Clara.
Thank you, Clara. Good job.
Bye. Thank you.